Never Seen It podcast, the only podcast called Never Seen It that's worth listening to. With us tonight, Mr. Daily Dares, aka Alex Kaleko, Mr. Donnie Appleseed, aka Donnie Guzman, Mr. Ghost Nerd 88, aka Justin Holden, and then there's me, Boots Too Big, aka Adrian De La Torre, and a return friend of the show, guest host, Miss That Denver Girl, aka Amber Wyatt. Welcome back, Amber. Nice to have you here, and tonight we are discussing what I believe is the 2025 film Good Boy.
I guess I'm next. I should never have come here.
A loyal dog moves to a rural family home with his owner Todd, only to discover supernatural forces lurking in the shadows. As dark entities threaten his human companion, the brave pup must fight to protect the one he loves most. And it literally stars Indy the dog as Indy the dog. And this was directed by a Mr. Ben Leenberg, who previous to this, 10 years ago, directed Bears Discover Fire, which is literally about bears discovering fire. So he likes to use animals in his stories, which I find very, very interesting.
Sounds like a YouTube video.
It does
like
sound
an early day YouTube video.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, you know, the next wave of great film horror directors is going to be YouTubers, apparently.
Yeah.
The way things are trending. But
There
yeah,
is a movie called like Hundreds of Beavers. I would like. I haven't seen it yet.
I've heard,
but I would
I've
love
heard
to
about
watch
that
it.
one. I've heard about that one.
Yeah, and apparently there's hundreds of beavers in it. So
you
Sick.
had
Like
me at Beavers. You had me at Beavers.
Sounds like
Anyway,
an adult film.
yeah, so that's the plot line. And Justin, this was your movie, so tell us, why did you choose Good Boy?
well, I chose Good Boy because it's definitely a different take on horror movies. I know there's like a lot of like kind of like In a Violent Nature. Like that was kind of different because it was like the perspective of, you know, the killer, obviously the lurker and things like that. So I thought it would have been like a little bit of a different take on horror as well, especially like haunting movies, where instead of it being like the perspective of a ghost, like in the movie Presence with, I believe, Lucy Liu, which I haven't seen that yet either, but I'll get around to that. I feel like it's an interesting thing. It's kind of like, you know, what is the animal's perspective? Because a lot of these movies have like animals in them, and they're just kind of there, you know, experiencing the situation with our main characters and things, but it never truly gives us an idea of what are our best friends and feline companions and canine companions, or like what is their perspective. And I feel like this was a really unique opportunity to watch something from a perspective of, you know, our best friend, dog.
I really like that. That was such a unique visual, like, storytelling method to use it to largely tell the story from the dog's perspective. I like that they really went to great lengths to not show like any of the human characters' faces. I noticed like it was very, you know, the way they framed everything was really like deliberately. Let's just focus on the dog, and it worked.
Well, if you notice too that like not only did they not show the humans' faces, they also shot everything, almost everything, at the eye level of the dog.
That's true, and I don't know why I thought you had mentioned, Justin, that maybe like they put a camera on the dog's back and then that's how they filmed the whole thing, but that wasn't the case.
No. That I would have definitely said, oh, it's like found footage style horror or POV horror, from the dog's perspective. But no, this is an actual like horror movie, filmed from, you know, generally a perspective from Indy the dog.
Right. And do you think this could have worked any other way? Like if they had done it in a traditional way, do you think the story still could have worked? Or is that really the big important gimmick, shooting it from?
If it wasn't for the dog, I think this movie would have been a complete, like, thrown in the trash horror movie for me. It would have been really boring. But I think the stakes of this movie were a little bit higher, knowing that it was an animal, you know, witnessing what was happening versus if it were like a human. I think I've said this before in a previous episodes, but it's like when it comes to horror movies, I really don't give a shit about the human characters that die or go through certain things, because maybe I just don't have a moral compass when it comes to humans dying in horror movies. But when it comes to animals, I think it kind of hits you from like more in the feels. You're a little bit more stressed out. I felt very stressed out when I was watching this movie. Because you don't want anything to happen to the poor guy. He's so cute and lovable.
I'm not even a dog person. Even I was like, oh no, Andy, don't go in there. Oh no. So that really says something. That was really well done. And by the way, spoilers ahead. We need to mention this at the top of every episode. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched Good Boy, yeah, we're gonna go through it. So this is your chance now to go watch it and then come back. Yeah, HLP is also joining us in the chat. He says hello. He says, because he is a good boy, give me food. Okay, that's true, HLP. And by the way, HLP also provided us our Snooze-O-Meter music. Now, Arnold's not here tonight, unfortunately. He is catching up on his football games. I don't know why. So, busy guy. But yeah, we're talking about Good Boy. So, explain to me really quick. I thought that the weird monster-looking thing was like the grandpa or the guy. Who was the old guy? He was their grandpa or his dead dad or something?
I think that it represented the generational curse. If you think about it, they actually mention it at the very beginning of the movie, like this cursed home. The neighbor is like, "Oh, you're moving in there," just kind of puzzled. And I think that leads into, is this really a curse, or do all of them carry this gene that gives them whatever illness that they come down with? Is there mold in the building? It's an old building. It could be interpreted in so many different ways, but that whole thing, it's definitely a curse.
And really
represents
quick,
that.
Was the house abandoned, or was it just like it was just there and the guy recently died? Okay, because I was gonna say, if it was abandoned, that was the cleanest abandoned house I've ever seen.
Like
so.
it was actually willed to the grandson. If you watch you see him watching that video, he's like, the grandfather is like naming off all the people he's giving all his assets to. Like, he gives everything else. He's like, I can't remember, he gives his granddaughter or his daughter or something, and he's like, it's like almost a throwaway, but he truly loves his grandson and just gives him everything.
So talk to me about this. The other dog that's in this movie, it's like a ghost dog or something. Did that dog have a name? I don't recall. The ghost just that's right. Throwback to our ghost dog episode. I don't recall them naming that other dog. Justin, do we know that, or I really don't remember. Even though
I don't think they named that other dog, but it must have been like obviously a dog that used to live there with its previous owner, and probably because I think they kind of like insinuated that dog may have died the same way that the human did at some point. Because if you notice that Indy is not impervious to the entity that's there. Like, obviously this dog is directly affected by the entity that is there, and I think Indy was just lucky to have escaped the clutches.
Right.
But I think the dog prior had no idea what the hell it was doing, and its owner was probably a little bit less responsible. And I'm assuming that the dog passed away due to whatever was going on.
I do believe they named the dog Lawrence Fishburne. Forrest Whitaker. I'm sorry.
Forrest Whitaker. Yeah,
I messed up that joke. Sorry.
AI cut that part out.
Oh.
No. What was Todd's deal, dude? I don't understand Todd. Like, what was going on? Was he sick? Did he have cancer? Was it the ghost thing affecting him? What was going on there with that guy?
I think it's like a illustration of the cycle of illness. How, like, if you get ill and you're such a good friend to me, it starts making me ill, and then Alex is upset, and then he starts getting ill because I'm ill, and it's a cycle. Like, even if you're not actually like getting cancer from somebody who has cancer, because it doesn't work that way, like, you can become ill from the stress, and the dogs are kind of involved in that as well.
Right, that's a good point. But what I was confused about is he goes to the hospital at one point, and they tell him it's too late.
I think he does have cancer.
Okay.
Because of that, but I do think that it's like I feel like it is kind of like that curse that they have, that generational curse, and because that he has that big tie to his grandfather, how much I think that he was kind of drawn to that house to come back. It could be interpreted in so many ways. I mean, this movie is such like a ball of clay. You could take it and mold it to whatever you really see fit to your interpretation, because like we are seeing it from a dog's point of view, right? So you could take whatever that dog's seeing in so many different ways. Like for instance, at the very beginning of the movie, they show that montage of the Indy growing up, and then there's a really quick scene of him like barking at nothing, and then Todd's like, "What are you barking at?" And it kind of, to me, that like shows that Indy had some sort of sensitivity to the paranormal. That's how I interpret it.
Don't they say that dogs sense things?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like paranormal things. I wish Arnold was here because he could speak on this. Go ahead.
Maybe paranormal, but also maybe like the illness to come. Like he could sense that. Like, some people say that, like, I don't know if it's just a country thing, but like they can sense when somebody's going to get sick.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've read that dogs can actually sniff cancer.
Well, they mentioned it at the very beginning of the movie. And while like Vera is talking to Todd in the car on the phone, she's like, Indy might be acting that way because he's, sensing something is wrong with you.
Yeah. I've heard the dogs can like sense like all kinds of illnesses. Like they can tell if you're diabetic.
Yeah, they can sense that if like people are having seizures or are about to.
That's so interesting. I did not know that. And then people who believe in like paranormal stuff say that they can sense ghosts and shit, right? Justin, as our resident horror guy, what do you think about that? Like, do you think that was like what's like the emotional core for Indy in your mind?
For Indy, it was probably like watching his owner kind of like go through the ins and outs of like not only having to deal with whatever he's sick from, but also dealing with the fact that this dog can obviously see that something's not right here at this house, but is kind of like, I always see that the way that Indy looks at Todd, not in the sense of, I'm like 100% worried about you. It's more of like, why are you doing these things? more or less. It kind of just looked like the dog was like, I'm obviously telling you something's wrong and you're not listening to me. And it's just, the dog has that kind of face throughout the entire movie. I think Indy is doing his job to kind of like doing his best to warn the owner or warn Todd and let him know that, hey, something like is not right. I think the point in the movie is where he leaves them for work one day just alone by himself, and he just sits there at the door until like he returns, is kind of like, oh, why did you leave me here type of deal. why are you such a dumbass and leaving me in this spot when it obviously something's wrong? So I think Indy did the best that they could with trying to, get Todd to be like, pay attention to your surroundings and stop being such a dick. For real though. And by the way, I just wanted to like backtrack real quick. So the other dog, the dog's name is Bandit. Max is the dog that plays Bandit, but
Gotcha.
But that dog apparently was owned by Todd's grandfather.
Now, Justin, I've never asked you this, but do you believe in ghosts?
So I'm definitely an atheist. I don't really believe in a whole. I don't really believe in a whole lot.
If my parents are watching this right now, yes, this is my coming out party. No, go ahead.
Do I believe? Not necessarily. I think I like more of the entertainment of it. Like,
right.
I gush over Ghost Adventures all the time. Just because like I think Zach is a cornball. Probably a terrible person too, but I watch it for the entertainment, not necessarily because I believe. But there are times where I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a weird thing that happened. Other than that, it's like I watch ghost things specifically for entertainment purposes,
now,
not because I believe.
If you were invited to the White House, which in this administration is not out of the realm of possibility, and you took your dog with you and he was growling outside the door of the Lincoln bedroom, would you be suspicious that, oh shit, Lincoln's ghost might be behind that door or something else?
Well, I would have Bella here trained to detect if Bill Clinton is giving Donald Trump a blowjob. So that would be the signifier.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I would be like, go attack. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lincoln's ghost would be the least evil thing in that White House if you were to.
I'd be very proud to meet Lincoln's ghost. I'd be like, wow, what a great day. But I had Bella specifically trained to catch Bill Clinton giving Donald Trump a blowjob.
That's
or vice versa. whatever happened. It's
Yeah.
very specific, but
Yeah, very, very
it'll come in
specific.
handy one day,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Go through the process of how you train Bill.
You don't want to know.
You don't want
It
to
was
know.
like,
yeah.
gave him a bunch of hot dogs and dirty underwear.
Lots of glizzies.
Old
Yeah.
brats.
Old brats.
Just a bunch of old brats.
Donnie, what were your rapid fire thoughts after having watched Good Boy?
I thought it was a good story and different. Like again, because it's from the perspective of the dog. I think that dog died, or that ghost is there to kind of warn Indy, like, you need to move on, because that's the grandpa's dog, right? And he probably died waiting for the grandpa, like, you know, like he didn't move on. He probably starved to death or something. But that's probably purpose. That's what I think the purpose of the dog was, like, strictly for Indy, so Indy could move on in the end.
Did anybody else think there was going to be a showdown between Indy and the ghost dog? Did anybody else think that, or was I the
No.
only one?
No, I didn't think
don't think
that.
so.
I think
I was
that was more of
expecting-
a...
You know what I mean? Like a Jurassic
Yeah.
Park 3. Remember Jurassic Park 3, the T-Rex versus the Spinosaurus?
Spinosaurus.
I was
yeah.
waiting
No.
for Indy and, what was it, Max?
Max.
To
Yeah.
Bandit.
Bandit to just
Bandit.
go at it.
Oh.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But it never came. I was telling Justin earlier, this movie is very much vibes. It's very vibe based. The second act of any screenplay is like always the hardest thing to write, because you can write an ending, you can write a beginning, but the middle part, that's the tough part, because now you have to like keep everybody's attention. And like the second act of this movie, I felt like it was very vibey. It was a lot of shots of Indy seeing things in the shadows and shit. Like, what do you call them? False scares, jump scares, and things like that.
He got me a couple times.
It got me several times too.
It's kind of shocking.
And I was like, okay, eventually they're gonna escalate, and eventually you're gonna see more. And you sort of do towards the end, like you see more stuff actually happening. But I feel like that middle chunk was a lot of like Indy sees a shadow, and then he sees like this outline, and then Todd comes up, and then like nothing happens, and then it just kind of repeats itself a little bit. Am I the only one that felt that was sort of that redundant technique spread throughout the entire middle part?
I honestly don't think so.
No? Okay.
I do feel like they use a lot of like non-dialogue stuff, but that's the whole thing. It's coming from the perspective of a dog. What do you expect them to be like talking? It's like, Raggy? You know what I mean? No, that's not going to happen. It's a dog. He's not going to like all of a sudden start talking. Well, I was in the bedroom and then, you know what I mean? Come on.
That's true. Indy seems more emotionally stable than Todd. And why was he being a dick to his sister over the phone at the end there? Was it the disease messing with his mind? Well, what do we think about that?
I think she was just pestering him, right?
Also, I think that's common when someone's getting ready to experience something like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times when people are going to commit suicide, they like start being really mean to everybody because they don't want to hurt them. Like, you know what I mean? But they're like, I'm gonna do this
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, they also
Like
start
you do.
getting rid of a lot of their own things, which is what he did at the very beginning of the movie. He sold all his things and moved into this place. He's like, I think he knew he was gonna die, but at the same time, he thought he could maybe make it out to the other side on his own terms, you know. But then he like sees himself like going down that road, and then he goes to the doctor. He's like, well, it's too late now, because he's like, you know, he's panicking. You know, he's like, what do I do? And so he goes to the doctor. He's like, well, you know, I want it in to this trial, whatever. And she's like, it's too late. You should have come in earlier. But he like took his time. He's like, and that's kind of how a lot of people are. You know, they don't do things until it's almost too late. Like that's one of those things I get out of this film is like, don't do something if you have the time now to take care of it. That's the whole thing. That like he could have like Todd could have repaired his relationship with his sister, could have like actually had somebody helping him along and like taking him to the doctor, but he's like, no, I'm too stubborn, I'm gonna do this by myself and do it, you know. And that's the whole thing. It's like, it's one of those things where it's a lesson about like community, you know. You need people in your life, and they play such an important role as like small as you think their life is in your own. They can be so integral in such little ways. And you know, like that happens with so many things. I'm sure we all have our own stories where like there were people in our lives who, they didn't seem like a big deal, but then they did something big for us, and it changed our lives somehow. And I know I've had that several times. So.
I also feel like with it happening to his grandfather too, and like we were talking about like generational curse, like it's a commentary on like men, like manhood, like what's expected of men. They're kind of like to just, like don't be whining, don't be, and then it's like, well, now
tough
I'm dead.
it out.
Like, I should have whined a little bit.
Thematically, that makes sense, right? Because Todd seems like he's the kind of guy where it's like, I can do everything myself. I don't need anybody's help. I have my dog, and that's it. And I can understand that to a certain degree, right? But yeah, I guess his sister was trying to be part of his life and help him out.
I mean, she cared about him even though he kept pushing her away, and she kept reaching out even after like he was treating her like shit. Like she still genuinely loved and cared about him and was concerned, because every time he'd he'd go like a day or so, whatever, not talking to her, she would get worried, obviously, which is why at the end of the movie she just decided that because he wasn't answering, wasn't communicating, she was going to go do a quality of life check on him, just in case, because she probably knew something was happening, regardless if it was the haunt. Maybe the haunting was metaphor for, the cancer suicide. Like,
yeah, that's what I think it was too.
That's what I get out of that.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, Todd does die at the end, right?
Absolutely, yes. Okay. He gets pulled into that like little tunnel thing. Spoilers, I guess. Even though we said it earlier, he gets pulled in. He gets dragged into that tunnel by the mud ghost guy. And he's dead. And pretty much when his sister shows up, opens the door to see Indy there, she also sees his dead body.
Did that remind anybody else of Annihilation?
I did see.
Do you remember the end?
We did that on the podcast.
We did do that episode on the podcast.
Did we?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
It was a long time ago.
It was a while back.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
I am so bad at remembering my own show. Well, so you remember the ending to that? Remember she sees the alien apparition taking the same shape as her, and there's like a hole or a crack in the wall or something. That it just reminded me of that moment. The end of Annihilation.
Yeah, I can see the similarities. They both had relatively similar endings, although different, but. Right. I can see where you're going. I can see where you're going with it.
Did anybody watch the movie Men, A24?
I did watch Men, yes. That was a strange movie.
Did the vibes and the strangeness remind you of Men at all?
I think Men was definitely a little bit more on the strange side.
It was.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, double spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Men, there's literally a scene where a character immediately gets pregnant and gives birth to other men, and then that happens like 2 or 3 times.
Wait, is that a new movie?
Wait, a man gets pregnant?
Yeah, a man gets pregnant and then gives birth to another man who gets pregnant and gives birth to another man.
Is this the prequel to
So
is that new?
Double
Twins?
Spoiler. In the movie Men, all the men she encounters in that movie just so happens to be the same person, just in a different like.
Yeah.
Like they don't look the same at first, and then gradually they just start looking the same, and then you're like, wait a second, this is definitely not the same guy.
Yeah.
Wait, how
But
old
it's
is
the
that
same
movie?
guy.
It's pretty new.
Not
Recent.
that old. It's like
Okay.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
I would say.
I've never heard
Very
it.
strange.
Never heard it.
I've always thought like if a man could give birth, would it come out of his? You know what? Never mind. But Men sort of answers that question, and you should watch it because it's a fucking weird movie, but in a good way. But back to Good Boy, Amber. So you watched this movie just recently as well. What were your sort of rapid fire thoughts on it?
One thing that stuck with me was the lack of dialogue and how that kind of just brought you back into remembering and experiencing the dog's perspective.
And do you believe in ghosts? I'm curious now. I'm just gonna go around the whole room.
I don't believe in ghosts, but okay, this is the thing. I think that people have a gift. Like, I don't know, like religious bullshit or nothing, but like, there's people in the country that just like sit on their porch all day and like, I think they'd be seeing some shit because like they don't go to work or nothing. Like, the awareness has got to be like at its peak when you don't worry about money or capitalism or, like participate in the like economy or anything. They don't participate. All right. They just sit there. And maybe they're just liars. I don't know. But I don't believe that. I believe that some people, when they have a level of awareness that is unbeknownst to me, and therefore it's kind of like a gift to like have a sensitivity to like things that are going on around us too, but we just don't notice it. I don't notice it because I'm go 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 all the time, and like, you know what I mean, you're like in the mix of things. But people who go really slow, I've noticed there's like a pattern. Like they're always the ones that say like, and I've known people to say like somebody's gonna pass away, and then like they do multiple times. So I feel like that's something like you guys were talking about. Like certain people can tune into that. Like it's just a level of awareness that like is just totally like I don't think I'll ever experience it. It's just something. It's a totally different lifestyle than like I've ever had. But a lot of older people, you know, that just sit around and stuff.
It's kind of like when like you're like hanging out on the street and you're like you see this person crossing the street and you're like that person's gonna get hit by a car, and then it happens. You know, that's like kind of.
I don't think that's the same, dude.
Observing, like, hey, that guy's gonna get hit by.
No, I can see that.
Context clues. Just context clues.
If you're a robot, DoorDash delivery robot, you're gonna get hit by a train or a car at some point. So be careful. But in all seriousness, though, yeah, do you guys think that dogs can sense that sort of paranormal shit? Like, do you really think there's something to that in a way?
I
Not
think
even
so.
paranormal, but like, there's like, what do they say? There's different. What do you call them?
It's like a sixth sense or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Sixth sense, right?
Yeah.
Any animal could be definitely more tuned in than us. They
Right.
don't do all that shit. They don't
Yeah,
have to-
because
I think for me, like, it does exist. Like, I'm a skeptic, but like, I think that, whatever you want to call it, you know, spirits, energy, whatever, you know, dogs, all like Amber was saying, animals, nature, they're way more connected to, you know, nature than we are. We're so far removed, like, you know, and we've come so far with like technology, and like it was kind of like, I can't remember what movie it was, but they were talking about how how humans have strayed away from what is that, like how nature like dictates itself,
right.
and how the you know, in the sense that we're not connected to nature anymore, you know. It's a downward dog day.
Downward dog day.
I think you missed that.
HLP saying 30-minute downward dog stretch break. Arnold's not here tonight, so there's nobody who's gonna make their hips not lie.
I'm doing it on behalf of Arnold.
But you know what I mean? It's like that's what it's. I think that, you know, that's why people always say, like, you know, dogs, animals in general have a connection to the greater spiritual world per se.
That's why it reminds me of these people who are, what do they say? They call shoes foot prisons, and they say that you have to walk around barefoot naturally because that's how you connect with nature to the
Adrian.
ground.
It's
The whole
called touching grass.
thing.
Touching.
That was my next. No, some people put their butthole in the sun too. That was gonna be my next thing.
I'm gonna do
Like,
it
Oh,
tomorrow.
Roland did that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Reason.
you did. You did.
Another reason why I think this is because not only because of the old people in the country, but like whenever you do like I'm really interested in like psychology, and like I question, like I'm skeptical about like psychology as we know it today, contemporary psychology. Like whenever they say like somebody's schizophrenic, like, and they're having like hallucinations, like truly, like I wonder if we're having, because like I'm not schizophrenic, like I wonder if I'm having hallucinations, because for example, like when you take like hallucinogenics, like you feel more connected to nature and stuff like that, which is how like our ancestors naturally were without all this bullshit in the way, right? So like how is that hallucinating and this isn't hallucinating?
That's a good point.
I'm hallucinating as a capitalist, but if I was like fucking on shrooms all the time, I'd just actually be seeing reality. I don't know, but I don't like to do shrooms thing.
Are you
know what
saying
I
the
think
same
I
for
do
like
believe?
ayahuasca?
Or anything that they call hallucinogenic, I'm not buying it, because you have to think about, you have to look at the history of the government. When have they told the truth? If it's
Never.
called a hallucinogenic,
Never. They never told the truth.
sure it's not a hallucinogenic. It's probably like we're hallucinating right now. Like I just don't believe them. Like
It's like the Matrix, where like when you're taking hallucinogenics, it's not necessarily us like having this psychoactive experience. We're actually disconnecting from the network, and what we're experiencing is actually what our real world is. So,
Could see that.
you know what I do
Interesting.
believe though? I think if anything, if there are any spiritual things out there, if there are any heavens, gods, whatever, if there were, I believe animals, all living beings that are not human based, have some sort of afterlife. I feel like humans, we're fucked. We've been sinning for so long that we're just fucked and we're just on a forever hell. And then when we die, we go into nothingness. That's how I believe things. But I think animals, I think they're so pure, no matter what it is they do. Animals are so pure that they have the benefit of going somewhere in their afterlife.
You know what?
That's
The way
what I
things are
believe.
going, I can't help but agree with you, Justin.
no, but what about a little baby that just like died like 2 hours later?
Or how about
Do you guys-
reincarnation? Do you guys
Straight
believe in
to
that?
hell. Straight to hell with that fucker.
Do you guys believe in like reincarnation?
I like the idea of reincarnation. I don't know that I believe in it. You know what I mean?
Like you don't
I
think it's
feel like
possible?
I feel like there's
Not
too
really.
much like in between to be like, oh, like I would totally love to die and become a squirrel, but what's to prevent you from becoming like the most hunted, prey on the planet? What's from you just being a particle in some water or a standstill tree or a grain of sand or something like that? Like,
Or a
what are the
bacterium.
parameters
Yeah.
of reincarnation is my biggest thing.
You know what trips me out, and I'm not talking about like Sylvia Brown and stuff, but you know how like they use like psychics to solve murders and shit, and like they actually like solve
Montel
murders.
Williams?
Yeah, that
Montel
shit's crazy. Like, there's like I don't know, there's something out there that's
Oh,
unexplainable.
come on. We watched The Black Phone. They did
Yeah.
that.
It's all up here. It's all up here.
I have something funny to say later on about Black Phone, but let's continue.
I mean, this movie, like I said, there's so many things to think about. As simple as the story is, because it's really just about seeing these horrors through a dog's perspective. And the great thing about the film as a medium is that you can do a story like this where it's mostly visuals, it's mostly vibes. Well, this couldn't be a novel as well as it is a movie. You know what I mean? It works so well as a movie to be able to see the story through the dog's eyes. I think my biggest issue with it is just that middle part just felt a little repetitive, but I understand now like why they sort of like went that direction, because they really went to great lengths to like tell it from the dog's perspective. And it's still such a human story, right? Because the dog gets scared, the dog gets suspicious, the dog reacts, and I was surprised at how they sort of reserved time for him to actually have a scene where he barks a lot. And one
Adrian,
moment,
I don't mean to interrupt, but like I have a legitimate question for you.
go ahead.
What do you think of like? Okay, obviously this is a dog, but what do you think of Indy as like the actor, the main character of this movie? Like, how do you feel that this dog like reciprocated its like scenes, especially when it came to the more emotional scenes?
I'll tell you this: I thought he was great. I think Indy is a better actor as a dog than most human actors, believe it or not. There are several human actors that couldn't even hold a torch to Indy. Whoever trained this dog deserves an Oscar or some kind of a technical award.
The director trained. This is his dog.
And this is
Yeah.
only his second movie. That's amazing, right?
I feel like the dog broke the cycle, the generational curse, because he only one that moved on.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
That's true.
Grandpa,
That's true.
That's a
Grandpa
good
was a
point.
hard ass. Then he made his dog a hard ass, just like him. Then he made his grandson like that. And then but what's his name? Indy.
Todd.
He's like,
Indy.
I'm gonna be different. Like homie's gonna die, but I'm not gonna die. I'm going with Vera.
Yeah. He makes a choice at the end when Vera arrives. He looks back at the hole that Todd presumably went into, and he looks up at Vera. We don't even see what she looks like, which is great framing, by the way. And then he like makes a conscious choice to go with her. And I thought that was so brilliant. I'm like, wow.
So like, you have to think about this though. Like, Todd's body is still in the bed. What Indy was following was somewhat a spirit, or
The spirit, right?
and it was going into that hole. So,
I didn't really okay. I had an idea that may have happened, but I didn't really catch that.
Tell us
and
about
now that you're like talking about it, Alex, like
Well, you see,
that's
you
crazy.
See Todd,
You're right.
Like he's laying in bed and he's like having his death throes, and then he has his like his final breath, and then all of a sudden he has that one. What do they call it?
Death knells.
Yeah. So where it's just the last expiration.
Yeah.
But that's him, like because Indy's like under the like at the foot of the bed, and then you see Todd grab onto Indy's like almost as if like he's like scared, and he's like, and then you see Todd get up from under the bed, and they're like, he's like, I can't remember the dialogue, but then you see Todd look back, and you see the Todd's body laying in the bed.
That was his soul. looking at.
I didn't even put two and two together. I had an idea that so the way I'm putting this together now is that the ghost was pretty much waiting for Todd to die to take his soul.
Much.
And that's, I don't know, piecing that together now is insane. Because it's like, I saw that. I really did. But I didn't really put two and two together until this moment in time. And that's actually really, really interesting and in-depth stuff that I didn't really think about.
For you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, that definitely makes the ending. Like, for me, I kind of teared up at the ending, mostly because of Indy, like, at the end of it all, stayed by his side, even if it was just his spirit being taken. But like realizing that now, I'm like, oh man, I'm floored by that.
Explain to me really quick though, what the hell was going on outside during the rainstorm? Todd is inside, he's having something going on, and Indy's just on top of the doghouse, looking up through the window, and it's raining, it's pouring rain. What was the chain comes around him, and the fucking guy's trying to take him?
I think that's the curse. That's curse.
Okay.
That's like the whole thing of him like trying to protect his owner, but the owner also doing like Todd wanting to do things on his own terms. He like pushed everybody away. He pushes his sister away, even pushes Indy away by like he's like, I told you to stay, and this is like your punishment,
Right.
But that's also kind of like that curse, like that taking over him, and it's kind of like, Indy knows something's wrong and wants to protect Todd from it. So he has to do something. And so it's that whole thing where like the curse is like probably like trying to prevent Indy from trying to protect Todd, That's why you get the whole like come back here. You're like trying to like snag Indy and prevent him from going inside. But you notice he gets back inside, he like through like all the shit he went through, he still like wasn't like by Todd's side, and Todd realizes that at the end, but like it's too late by then.
I kind of was watching this and I was like, it kind of makes me want to have a dog, because it feels like they really are man's best friend.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was literally just going to bring up, like, and this happens in films all the time, like, whenever there's a popular film that happens to involve an animal, everybody seems to want to go, like, purchase that exact breed.
Right.
And I was actually just, like, looking it up right now on, like, animal adoptions based on popular movies, and how it's kind of like a bad side effect of like these popular movies. Because I'm sure after this movie, everybody wants an Indy now. They want to go name him Indy, and then they're going to find out that this dog is worth thousands of dollars, and they can't even really afford to take care of him, because like this type of dog are the types that you
high maintenance,
put on a farm. They're herding sheep, they're fetching ducks. Whatever it is, it's like they're high maintenance dogs that people don't realize that they probably shouldn't be purchasing animals like this.
What breed was Indy? He looked like a golden retriever mix of some kind.
He is a Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever.
Wow,
So,
that's
a
a
hunting
very interesting.
Yeah. When we watched Gremlins, I wanted to adopt a Mogwai.
Yeah, right, exactly. Everybody wanted a Mogwai, and instead we got stupid ass Furbies.
and Grogu.
Grogu, yeah.
That's why I want a Shiba Inu, because it's in every anime I watch.
Yeah,
I love that dog. Yeah,
Me too.
They're small. They're chill. They seem, You know?
They're kind
Apparently
of
they're
mean.
very aggressive. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
they're so aggressive. Yeah.
That's
You
interesting.
know what's funny is was that DJ Day?
Just
Shout
gonna
out
say.
to DJ Day.
Friend of the show.
His album Land of a Thousand Chances. The cover has a Shiba Inu, and then it's taken at the this Japanese bar where the owner lets his dog like sit at the bar. But he was telling me, I was like, oh man, that dog's so cute. He's like, you never know, man. He was cool with me, but man,
Yeah.
he told me the Japanese bartender, the owner of that bar, was like, don't get too close to him. He'll bite.
That's true. Sometimes cute things can be very aggressive. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, like
I
the
don't know what it is.
Gremlins.
The Gremlin, yeah, that's what I was talking about, of course. Well, yeah, that's the movie. That is Good Boy. Do we want to start going around the room and doing our final thoughts, or is there anything else we want to talk about before we do that? Justin?
Well, I just want to, yeah, I mean, we can get into final thoughts after this, but I just wanted to point out that obviously the director owns Indy the dog, and trained Indy the dog as well. So Indy is a very good boy and has a very good owner. Obviously, you can see the love that, like, even in like behind the scenes footage, you can tell this dog absolutely loves Ben. Was it Ben Leonberg? Whatever.
Yeah. Every shot was a glamour shot of Indy. They had like
Yeah.
this golden light just boom right on him.
Yeah, Good Boy first premiered at the 2025 South by Southwest Film Festival on March 8th, but the movie premiered theatrically on October 3rd.
Wow.
Yeah, so it did do its little tour there. And the cool thing is that this movie had a $70,000 budget, which is insane.
$70,000?
And it garnered $8.7 million.
Wow.
I was one of those people that went to go see it in the theaters. Like I was like that first weekend, I was like, I have to see this in the theaters.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about it too is in the theaters they had like a little kind of making of video at the end. It was really cool. And what they talked about was how they were able to get Indy to do a lot of the stuff. He's like, well, as you know, some of you know, dogs in movies, they have a very short window to be able to do things.
Yeah.
So this film they shot over a period of 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. So they were like able to do almost like a scene every day, and I think they said like an hour or two to be able to do the things that they needed to do with Indy. So like for 3 years, almost every single day they had like him, like the director. And what was kind of cool about it too is like the way, it's the way they filmed it. There was actually a lot of light, and they had to do some color adjusting because like they wanted to be able to have, if you look at like the scenes with like Indy where it's like very close up and everything, and it's like his fur is very bright colored and everything.
Yeah.
It's because they shot it with a lot of light, but then they just changed the backgrounds to be like, so they set they actually showed a scene where it was this Indy. I can't remember which one it was. It looked like a very happy scene. It was when he's like going through the house and he's like, oh, it almost like looked very happy because it was all bright. But because of the color grading for the background and the tone, and to make it like, they made it look a lot scarier than it really was. So
Wow.
they did a really great job at like with the editing.
Were those
Yeah.
close-up shots of his eyeballs like CG, or were those real? 'Cause
No, those were real.
Real.
Those look really good.
Real. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I also wanted to note, because, obviously a dog can't go to the Oscars, unfortunately, because the rules for the Oscars prevent animals from winning awards, unfortunately. But I want to say that the
Are you
Astra
telling me
Film
Alec
Awards.
Baldwin's not a dog? I had to say.
Oh, he's
I
a
know.
dog, all right.
He's a dog. No, the Astra Film Awards, which I believe is the Australian Film Awards, Indy won Best Performance in a Horror Thriller. So that's actually a pretty big deal. They also won, in Las Vegas in particular, the Las Vegas Film Critics Society, they won Best Animal Performance as well, and a multitude of like other awards. Oh, they won Best Animal Performance at the San Diego Film Critics Society, and so on and so forth. They won some in Texas. So Indy's won a bunch of awards. And the other fun fact thing is that at the Astra Awards, the director recorded Indy's acceptance speech, which was kind of funny. So he just kind of dubbed for Indy and said, "Hey, I appreciate this stuff. If go see it on YouTube, it's out there.
It's great. I had no idea that was even the thing. Well, good for Andy. He deserves all the accolades and all the awards.
And all the treats.
And all the
treats.
He is the goodest of boys. All right, well, that's good. That's some great fun facts. Thank you for sharing that. But yeah, let's go around the room and do our final thoughts. And Justin, I'll start with you. What are your final thoughts on Good Boy?
Yeah, so Good Boy 2025. Fantastic movie. I love Indy. He's so cute, and I just want to cuddle him. I will never be able to do that, I'm pretty sure, in my life. But he's such a good actor. He has such a charming face. He's so cute. And I think just because of the way that he looks, like his little cute face with his little brick tan nose, I think that really kind of made the stakes a little bit higher for the horror of this movie. It made me be like, oh, so like I actually watched this movie with Jess, and like she wasn't gonna watch it if something happened to the animal, so I like had to look it up first. So I guess I kind of had like a pre-spoiler more than anything, but when I looked it up, it literally states it's like, no, Indy the dog does not die or get injured in the movie or anything like that. We're good to watch it. So if spoiler, unfortunately, but if you do decide to go watch this movie, just know that nothing terrible happens to Indy the dog, but everything terrible happens to the owner. So just letting you know. There may be some like spooky jump scares. I think the design of the ghost in particular, he was like, it kind of reminded me of like the oil guy from Ferngully, The Last Rainforest. He was yeah, it was kind of like a sludge ghost monster thing. Very, very interesting, very unique idea. Kind of reminds me of like those old like tar and tobacco ads and stuff. Maybe that's also kind of like resemblant of like because I was reading Todd actually had like lung disease or something like that. So maybe the tar ghost monster is representative of maybe his lung disease or something like that.
That tar monster kind of reminded me of like when we got slimed during the SDCC
yes.
promo.
We were definitely the slime monsters then. But we'll link that photo up later on. But anyway, I think Indy did a wonderful job. I think it set up the tone. I think the set design was pretty well crafted because it was a very limited space and it made you feel very claustrophobic. But a lot of big things were happening all the time. So I think they used their budget and their scenery to their benefit. I think this movie is just long enough to, satisfy, that horror craving, that constant like, back and forth between like what's going to happen next and what is happening. I think even that small space kind of adds to the intensity of the film. The lighting and set design, although simple, again they used what they had to the best of their abilities with the budget they had. Overall, very intense film. It's not like the longest thing ever, like I was saying, but I think it was just long enough to have like a satisfying, long-lasting impression on myself, and I hope that it has a lasting impression on anybody else who watches it as well. I highly recommend it. I would also probably watch it again. So its rewatchability is pretty high for me. But other than that, I think I'm going to give this movie a solid 4.5 out of 5. You can find me on Letterboxd, Ghost Nerd 88, or actually I'm Shibs the Zombie still on Letterboxd, but if you go to, Shibs the Zombie or Ghost Nerd 88, you can just go to my links and it'll take you to my Letterboxd.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, and it clocks in at an hour and 13 minutes. I mean, it's not even 90 minutes long, so it's worth a watch. Definitely. So, Amber, I'll go to you next. So where can people find you, and what are your final thoughts on Good Boy?
Me, personally, I think it's so sweet how much Justin loves dogs, but I'm not really like that. I like dogs, but I think I have trauma because my dog died when I was a kid, and then I just can't get another dog. It's just Trixie forever. I'm trying to ride for Trixie. That's it. So I like movies that really delve into like the human experience more, I think. So it was different for me, and I appreciate how unique it was, and I think it was very well done. But for me, I'll give it a 3 because it was just missing that for me. Like I said, I'm really into psychology, so yeah, I really look forward to kind of like analyzing characters, like human characters in that way. But I think you guys did a great job of analyzing the dog.
And where can people find you? Anything you want to plug really quick? Any upcoming projects or anything like that?
We have the Castle Rock Film Festival coming up at the Sedalia Theater.
Oh, nice.
April 10th, 11th, and 12th. So just hit me up on Instagram, that Denver girl, if you're interested in getting tickets.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And yeah, Donnie, on to you next. What are your final thoughts on Good Boy?
I think it's a good movie. I didn't understand it at first. I had to pull it back a couple times to see if I missed anything. But I think the whole thing is just like a metaphor, talking about how, death is inevitable, and it kind of matches like the whole story, right? Where the monster gets more intense towards the end, or whatever that is, an entity. And it's just like almost as if it's like the Grim Reaper taking him, right? But I really appreciate the creativity of it, how it's shot from that low angle, and Ben's understanding of dogs. I mean, I don't know if he believes that dogs have a sense, but he obviously like uses that knowledge in this movie, right? So I thought that was pretty clever. Overall, I would give it a 3. It was a little slow for me, but yeah, it was good. I respected the creative process of it. I give it a 3. You could find me on Instagram _ Donnie Appleseed, and on my Letterboxd, just Donnie Appleseed, no underscore for that.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, Alex. Yeah. Final thoughts, and where can people find you?
I feel that this is a great film for, as simple of a story as it was. I think we've reviewed a lot of films recently that had very simple stories, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's like it can't be complex at the same time. You could draw so much complexity out of life in general, and the metaphor of what this all is. You can analyze it from so many different ways. The curse. What is it? Is it actually a curse, or is it just a metaphor for, the generational trauma that they probably went through? Like you see the grandfather, he was definitely an asshole. He treated people mean, he pushed people away, and he died alone. He was obviously mean to his, didn't he call his daughter like yeah, I can't remember what to say, but it was in the video where he was talking about the inheritance, bleep that word out, the C word. But at the same time, he was, one of the things I've noticed when it comes to dogs are very, very loyal. Even when you're mean to them, they'll still be loyal to you. And if you notice that, they even with the grandfather, he was mean. Even though during the scene where he pushes India away, he's like, "Get away!" He's like, I told you to leave me alone. Grabs his head and pushes, and it's a very mean thing. But India was super loyal to him, and that's kind of a rarity in the human realm. There are people who are willing to. I mean, I guess that's a trait that Vera had, his sister. He pushed her away so much, and even at that point where she still cared for Todd and wanted to see him get better and get help, and but also respected his wishes to be left alone. So she cared in that sense for him. And so there's that similarity between Indy and Vera, that parallel. But yeah, there's one thing that I thought of, at the very beginning of the movie, you see them entering the house, and they're trying to get into the house, and then you hear a howl come out of the basement. I'm kind of wondering if like Todd hears that or if it's just Indy hearing it, you know? That's kind of one of those things too. You think about it like that whole sense of like dogs have that sixth sense of when it comes to the spiritual world.
Right.
And so it kind of plays into that story. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting. Overall, I think it was a very simple story, very well told. They were able to like make it complex, give it some depth, some teeth to like, you know, something to chew on. And that's not a pun intended. But like I give it a 4. I love this movie a lot. If it ever comes out on like physical media, I would definitely buy it. And for the guy who like says they'll never take us seriously if I'm eating on camera, here you go. Oh, take me seriously.
Oh, one of our many comments of love. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up. Yeah. It's very professional of you.
I've been eating this whole episode.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been eating.
You'll have to
been
get
eating
bags
popcorn.
made out of wax because they
Anyway.
make less noise.
Can I also bring up one thing before we cut to you, Adrian?
Absolutely.
So there's like something I forgot to mention. At the very, very end of the movie, just before the credits roll, obviously Vera takes Indy and they're driving away, and then you hear whistling and whatnot, and then Indy kind of like tucks his head back into the window. Apparently that's Todd whistling, and Indy is just pretty much noping the fuck out. He's pretty much like, oh, that's enough for me, guys. And then the credits roll. So I just wanted to point that little detail out too, that it was Todd calling to Indy probably one last time, but it probably isn't Todd. You know, just saying.
But yeah, so you can find me at Daily Dares everywhere on the socials, and then let's throw it to you, VOOTZ2 Big.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. She's not my mother, Todd. Where's that from? Anybody? She's not my mother, Todd.
I
Movie is that
remember
from?
the reference.
I remember.
Terminator 2.
Oh, that's right. No,
Justin, how did you not get that, bro?
I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
It's familiar. Mom!
It's only a movie podcast, guys.
Go save my back!
Yeah. No, good stuff. I enjoy Good Boy overall. You know, I always try to watch everything through the lens of like, as a writer, I always try to watch everything through the lens of a writer. And I think like that middle part is always that's the sticky wicket, as they like to say in the old days, right? Because how do you keep the audience engaged for the middle part of the story? And I think they did a decent enough job with this movie. I felt like some of the plot beats were slightly repetitive. I think the ending was satisfying. I'm glad that I'm glad that the Indy made it out alive in the end, and he got rescued basically by Vera, his sister. So happy for that. Very vibey movie, as I was saying to Justin earlier. I think the beauty of the horror genre in general is that like it's kind of a sandbox genre. There's no rules. Like you can do whatever you want in horror. I don't know that you can do that as freely in other genres, because I don't know what you guys think about that, but it seems like with horror you can do almost anything. Like there's no limit. Like this is a movie entirely told from the dog's perspective. You know, they couldn't do that in Nora, right? They couldn't do that entirely from a dog's perspective in that movie. Like it wouldn't work, really. And if it did work, then, you know, kudos to you. But with horror, you can do anything. And I think that's the beauty of this genre. So with that said, I enjoyed it a lot. I'm going to give it a strong 3.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. And you can find me on Letterboxd at Boots Too Big. I want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Healing Laughter Powder in the chat, who always joins us, and he's also provided us a little ditty for the Arnold Suzumier, who was on here tonight, but that's fine. And I want to give a quick shout out to a TikTok follower of ours, Adventures of Yacht Rock Baby. This person on TikTok has liked a lot of our stuff, commented, and all that. So thank you, Adventures of Yacht Rock Baby. We really do appreciate that. And before I lose my voice here completely, let me read you our quick intro and outro. Follow us, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, X, neverseenitpodcast.com. Email us at podcast.neverseenit@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts from. Leave us a review. A big thanks to Mr. Kyle Maps and the Burn Cycle for our intro and outro music. And you can follow Kyle on Instagram at selfies_food_and_pets. Thank you for listening. Any final thoughts from the ladies and gentlemen?
Good boy. Good boy. Come here. Good boy.